Welcome to The Explainer, where we break down the big ideas. Today, we are diving into one of the most important challenges in artificial intelligence, and that's how do we build an AI that we can actually, trust?
So let's get right into it. We've all seen AI do some pretty incredible things, right? But there's this huge, nagging problem right under the surface. For all its power, AI isn't always trustworthy. Sometimes it just invents facts, or it'll cite sources that don't even exist. And it does it all with this incredible confidence. And that is the challenge we're tackling today.
And this really gets to the heart of the conflict. On one hand, AI has this amazing power to write code, answer questions, draft whole essays. But on the other hand, it can hallucinate. It can lack up-to-date info and will just make stuff up. This disconnect is what a lot of people are calling the trust gap. And honestly, it's probably the single biggest thing holding AI back from what it could really do. But what if there was a builder's guide to fix this? A real, practical manual for the engineers who are actually on the front lines building this stuff. That's exactly what we're exploring today. Based on a brand new resource that lays out a roadmap for making AI a whole lot more reliable. And here it is. The guide is a new book called Building AI Agents. And look, this is not some light weekend read. We're talking 560 pages. It's a really deep, practical manual that's focused on one thing: building production-grade, autonomous agents that are not only smart, but are also grounded in facts. And let's be super clear here. This isn't about some abstract, high-in-the-sky theory. Nope. This is a hands-on manual for the engineers who need to build systems they can actually count on. The whole goal is to create agents that can think, that can act, and, this is the critical part, that can ground every single one of their responses in data you can actually verify.
Okay, so how does the book say we should actually do this? Well, the whole approach really comes down to a toolkit of 3 core components, and they all have to work together. So let's break down what they are.
First up, at the very center of any agent, you've got the large language model, the LLM. The easiest way to think about this is as the agent's brain, right? It's the powerful, creative engine that's doing all the heavy lifting of understanding what you're asking and trying to reason through it.
But here's the thing. A brain all by itself can daydream. It can hallucinate. And that's where you bring in RAG, which stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. This part acts like an expert researcher. It's kind of like giving the AI an open book test, where it's constantly going out and pulling in current, verifiable data from the real world to ground its answers in reality.
So now you have all these facts coming in, but you need a way to organize them, right? That's where the knowledge graph comes in. Think of it as a context map. It doesn't just give the AI a list of facts, it connects the dots. It shows the relationships between all those different pieces of data, which is what allows the AI to reason about things in a much, much smarter way. So, when you put it all together, you finally get the complete system. You've got the LLM as the brain to do the thinking. You've got RAG as the researcher to go get the facts. And you have the knowledge graph as the map to give it all context. It's this powerful combination that creates a much more reliable and trustworthy AI agent.
Okay, so we have the toolkit, the brain, the researcher, the map, but how does an engineer actually use a guide like this to build something that, works in the real world?
The book lays out this really clear 5-step workflow. You start with structuring your data, building that all-important knowledge graph, then you design how the agent is actually going to work. But look at step 4. Add guardrails. This is so, so important. It's about building in safety checks and things to reduce hallucinations before you even get to the last step of deploying it into a live environment. And it seems this super practical focus is getting noticed. The book's own technical reviewer calls it the most practical and forward-looking resource available for building these kinds of complex systems. That's a pretty strong endorsement. So it's pretty clear who this is for. We're talking about the practitioners, the data scientists and the machine learning engineers who are in the trenches every day, building real-world stuff. This guide is for anyone who wants to get their hands dirty with code and build truly autonomous agents right from scratch. But hey, no guide is perfect for everyone, right? It's a specialized tool for a pretty specific job. So let's take a look at the final verdict. What are its real strengths, and where does it have limitations? This table really shows the trade-off here. The strengths are obvious. It's super practical, it's modern, it's focused on enterprise-level stuff. But the limitations are just as important to understand. It's got a steep learning curve, so it's really not for beginners. And its focus is almost entirely on the how, the technical side of things, with a lot less emphasis on the broader ethical questions around AI.
So ultimately, the key takeaway is this. It's an implementation-first manual. Its real value is in giving engineers the power to build reliable agents right now, focusing on practical application instead of high-level strategy. It is a builder's guide through and through.
And that leaves us with a final, really important question to think about. If this guide and others like it are giving us the tools to create AI that we can finally trust, what are the most urgent, most beneficial problems we should be pointing it at? What should be built first?